I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you till 7 o'clock. My panel, I kept you guessing tonight, ladies and gents. Did you notice that? I kept that element of surprise and suspense. Look, here they are. Two of your favourites. You often tell me this. Aaron Bastani, the founder of Novara Media, and Peter Hitchens, the columnist at the Mail on Sunday. Good evening, gents. Welcome back to you both.
Good evening.
And you know the drill. It's also about you guys at home, this programme. You're also very welcome tonight. I do hope you've got some sunshine wherever you are, because it makes everything feel so much better, doesn't it? Join the conversation all the usual ways. gbviews@gbnews.com is the email. gbnews.com/you'll say online. And of course, you can tweet or you can X me. But look, this is quite a special moment, really, because King Charles has shared a message which will really resonate, I think, with anyone whose life has been affected by cancer. Let me cross live now to our GB News royal reporter, Cameron Walker. Good evening, Cameron, to you. In a nice, sunny Scotland, I believe. Bring us up to speed with what's happened.
Yeah, it's certainly beautiful up here, Michelle. Good evening. Yeah, I think this is certainly a reminder that our king and our head of state is still living with cancer and is still experiencing and going through a weekly cycle of cancer treatment as a 76-year-old man. And as we speak, he is hosting a reception inside Buckingham Palace alongside fellow patients, as well as former patients, nursing staff and specialist doctors and cancer charities as well. And I think since his diagnosis last year, he's really had time to reflect on what that means for him, but also the 390,000 other people within the United Kingdom who are diagnosed with cancer every year. And he's personally penned a message to those guests at the reception this evening, describing it as a frightening experience if you are diagnosed with cancer, for both the individuals, but also, of course, for loved ones that try and support them through that journey. And he, of course, acknowledges that he is among those statistics himself. His Majesty says, "I can vouch for the facts that it can also be an experience that brings into sharp focus the very best of humanity," describing the community of care of specialist cancer nurses, of doctors and of volunteers, and says that they all have both his and his family, the royal family's, deepest gratitude. Of course, it's also a reminder that the Princess of Wales is in remission following her own cancer journey. And I think he's realised this community exists because of the journey that he has been on. But I think he ends it quite poignantly, this 600-word message or so, and he reflects on the words of the late Deborah James, who of course tragically died in 2022 of bowel cancer, leaving behind two very young children. His Majesty says, "Those who may be receiving such upsetting news today, tomorrow, or at any point in the future, I can only echo the departing words of the late Deborah James, whose example stands as inspiration to us all in sickness and in health." Deborah James says, "Find a life worth enjoying, take risks, love deeply, have no regrets, and always have rebellious hope." Now, Michelle, royal sources have indicated to me tonight that the King's cancer treatment is still going in a positive direction. Perhaps that's reflected in his both national and international full programme of engagements. But as I said at the top, I think this is a reminder that our head of state is still living with cancer and is still undergoing treatment, however long that lasts.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Cameron Walker, thank you very much for bringing us that update. Aaron Bastani, he references in his speech that 1,000 new cases of cancer every single day, and he talks about how daunting a cancer diagnosis is, of course, not just for the patient involved, but for the whole broader family, the loved ones, and all the rest of it. And I love those words there. Bowel babe, that's how many of you will remember Deborah James, of course, those words at the end. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that 1,000 figure is really extraordinary. Of course, it's partly the reflection of an older society. We have fewer people dying of infection. We have fewer people dying in early years, which invariably means more people dying of things like dementia, cancer, heart disease. So in one respect, reflects progress, but a devastating thing to be afflicted with. And that final line, I think, very poignant and very powerful. You know, the king is in his 70s. And I suppose this experience, which hopefully comes out on the other side of, will put into sharp relief what he would like to do with the rest of his tenure as monarch, I presume, whether that's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years if he's like his mother. And hopefully, if he returns to full health again, that will be an advantage for him as monarch.
It certainly will. Tell me, have you or your family been impacted by cancer? When you listen to King Charles, when you see him, does that bring you inspiration? We talk about this often. Whenever we have an update to bring you, of course, we share that. And the inbox is always divided because there's lots of you that get in touch with me and say, oh, Michelle, I love these updates. It brings me and my family a lot of comfort. I see it as inspirational. And then you have the other side, I must confess, where people get in touch with me and say, well, you know what, Michelle, it's all right if you're royalty, but try accessing NHS services in your hour of need. And you, perhaps many of you say that you get in difficulty when it comes to that. Peter Hitchens, where are you on all this?
I'm just where I think most people are. Is that I hope God will grant the King a swift and full recovery, and I wish the same for everybody else. And their families who are struck with this disease. What more can one say?
And we're talking, you just mentioned then about age and all the rest of it. I was struck because, of course, we're talking about those words at the end of his letter from that lady that many of you will know as Bowel Babe. Of course, her real name, Dame Deborah James. But bowel cancer cases are actually on the rise in a lot of younger people now. What do you think to that?
It's a really extraordinary statistic. I think the #1 age cohort now that's being diagnosed with bowel cancer is, I believe it's 30 to 39, or it's mid-30s to mid-40s. Quite extraordinary. Some people are connecting it to this profusion of microplastics in modern life, which is really important to say, by the way. If you have problems in your bowels and there's an issue downstairs, it may be IBS, it may be something more severe. Go and see a doctor. I know two friends of my wife, both younger than 45, who've both died from bowel cancer. Something very strange. Yes, something very strange.
Recently?
In the last 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. Something very strange is happening.
Yeah, what do you think it is? I mean, many of you will have quite a few different suggestions. When it comes to, Nellie's just said, Michelle, cancer is an absolute nightmare for everybody, and how you deal with it, I think this is quite an interesting point, how you deal with it is ultimately down to you as an individual. The suggestion there that some people are quite private about things, other people actually quite public, and they like that kind of public support. Nellie says, can I just send my very best wishes to everyone, all families that are dealing with this. When it comes to some of our ailments, whether it's cancer or beyond, the NHS is a constant source of, I would call, political footballness. We all kind of kick it around. Everyone reckons they can do a better job than everybody else. Peter Hitchens, reform have come under a lot of scrutiny because people are suggesting that they want to privatise it, or at least elements of it. When you think about the future of the NHS, do you still envisage what they call free at the point of use for the NHS in its entirety?
I would hope so, particularly for children and the vulnerable. There are some arguments, I think, for some people being asked to pay a co-payment for some appointments, but as soon as it comes to children or anybody who's seriously ill or poor, then you can't do that. But my main answer to the NHS is quite simple. Send a team of commissioners over to France, ask them to explain how they do it, and then adopt the French system, which is far better than ours, and we could do it very quickly.
But many people at home will say, Peter, what is the French system? What's the summary
I can't
of it?
explain it. I mean, that's why I say you send a commission over there. All I know is that everybody who experiences it says it's much better than ours. And I'm prepared to believe it. France is a very similar country in size and age pattern and everything else to us, and yet they managed to run a better health service, and I think similar amounts of money. They do it slightly different from us in a number of ways, including insurance and the rest, and they arrange their hospitals differently. It just works better. If I knew the details, I'd tell you. That's why I say send a commission over there, find out what they do, and do it.
Aaron, do you envisage a free... I mean, I hate even saying this sentence because every time I say free at the point of use, my brain kicks in and goes, it's not free at the point of use. It's paid for, of course, by each and every one of us with our national insurance contributions. But do you envisage it looking as it currently does?
Well, I hope the service substantially improves. It's had major problems since 2020, despite actually significant amounts of investment from both the Conservatives and now the Labour Party. Of course, waiting lists are coming down. I do agree with Peter. The French system seems to be significantly better for not much, and not much of a shift is required. There'll be big sunk costs in terms of changing the system. Are those going to make it worthwhile? For instance, I think you have to pay up front with regards to a GP appointment and then you're given the money back as a result of it being an insurance-based system. Now, I'm not suggesting, I don't think you should pay for a GP appointment, but that presumably brings down the costs of people not turning up to appointments, abusing the system of appointments. So I think it's a very good proposal, possibly too sensible for our political class, I'm afraid.
I'll tell you one other thing about the free at the point of use business. If the NHS isn't prepared to do something, such as dentistry, or the care of the old, it just withdraws from it. And it's not free at the point of use at all. It's fantastically expensive. And the real worry we have now is what else the NHS is going to withdraw from, which will become like dentistry and the care of the very old. And that won't be free at the point of use. Unless you fix it, the parts of it which are free at the point of use will get smaller and smaller. And then again, go to A&E. Most of us have at some point or other gone to it and see how it is. It's obviously impossibly overwhelmed. That's wrong. It may be free, but good heavens, it's an appallingly long wait in often terrible conditions. Nobody denies this. So the free at the point of use thing is, frankly, a bit of a slogan.
It certainly is. What do you think to it all? But look, at the end of the day, of course, we all send the King our very best wishes. And of course, we send each and every single one of you who is and has been affected by cancer our very best wishes as well.